welcome to another episode of Black Daddy Country Club. We have a special guest here today, Mr. Laron Finney. How you doing today?
Hey man, I'm blessed to be here and grateful to be here, man.
Yes, no
Yeah,
doubt.
big fan.
Thank you. So I'm gonna have to read this because your accolades far surpass what I can remember, right? Because you've done a lot. So it goes as this. Mr. Laron Finney is a dynamic force in the world of marketing, a true visionary whose innovative strategies have transformed industries and elevated brands. But beyond his professional success, he's a man deeply committed to giving back. With an unwavering dedication to philanthropy, he has invested his time in the city's growth, empowering communities and creating opportunities for those in need. Mr. Laron Finney.
Thank you, Mike. I'm humbled by that introduction. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, as I was mentioning to you off air, Black Daddy Country Club podcast is about growth for Black fathers raising our children. We're all going through it, right? We all go through things. Mental health is a big part of that as well. From time to time, we have a male therapist on the show to help fathers through some of the issues that they may have.
Absolutely.
There's this stigma about Black men going to therapy.
Yeah, you and I have talked about that, so 100%. Yeah.
I want you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I appreciate it. Born and raised in Cherry Hill, single mom. I had 3 sisters, and I've been around mental health issues all my life. My mom suffered from mental health issues on and off during my childhood, and it was at times that I would have to be the parent, the brother in the household. So I'm very sensitive to that. So going from Cherry Hill, I was very fortunate to attend Baltimore Polytechnic Institute, and then from there went on to Mount St. Mary's on a basketball scholarship with a degree in chemistry. I quickly transitioned from a career in chemistry to marketing, branding, and sales by working in the NBA with the Washington Bullets, who are now the Wizards, and then ultimately working with Eastman Kodak and Johnson & Johnson, and then had the courage to step out on my own in 2000 to start Visionary Marketing Group, which transitioned to the Finn Group. And our focus really is around marketing, branding, and making sure that we give good images for our community.
Awesome. And obviously you are a father.
Yeah. Yes. I have my daughter, Rachel, who lives in Atlanta. She is a cybersecurity and also the author of 3 books. And then my son, Laron Finney, is at St. John's University, finishing his last year, and he's going to do something in the social policy. And he wants to give back to the community and really focus on young men who are suffering from mental health issues and trauma. So this is very applicable to not only the topic, but where both of my kids are right now in their lives.
Yeah, that's listening to you speak. That's very interesting. With your history and background, dealing with mental health issues and topics. Now your son is going into that field as well. Was that something that was planned, or that just seemed to be the route that he gravitated to?
Well, I'm very blessed, man. He's had a really full life. He has good reference points from his mother and myself. She's an attorney. So his major is criminal justice with social studies in the background. But as he began to matriculate, he did an internship this summer with his mother, and then realized that he wants to come back into the community and be a reference point for young Black men, because what we see, whether it's in the schools and colleges, you don't see a lot of Black males who can be reference points for our young men when they're going through issues and challenges and need to figure out how to communicate and deal with those things.
Yeah. And communication is really big.
Yeah.
What was the cornerstone or foundation for your methodology with raising your children?
Yeah, it's fluid. I always wanted to set an example, so it was always if they looked in the mirror and saw me, that it was a good reflection of what they should be as a human being. So you got to have accountability. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be honest. You have to have integrity. And you have to work hard. There are no give me's in life, and specifically for black families, we have to really condition our kids to be prepared to go out into a very, very difficult world. So both my kids excelled academically, and then they have been able to go. My daughter's in Atlanta. My son is in New York. They've been able to go and build their own tribes. So we wanted to give them independence. We wanted to give them structure, but also give them the space to fall and bump their heads. And then ultimately, I think the job as parents is to help our kids not go through doors where they have to pay dummy tax and really get impacted, and ultimately trying to fix things that may take a long time and impact how productive they are as adults and citizens in the country.
Yeah, that's amazing. When you say that, I, I can't help but think about Deion Sanders and the and his sons and the I don't want to say memes, but the videos that are going around now with Shador going into the NFL draft and Deion being very vocal about where he doesn't want his son to
Right,
go, right?
right.
And when you talk about dummy tax, I see that that's what he's trying to do as well, right?
Yeah, it's important, man. Like if I've gone through experiences, Dion has been in the league. He's been a coach. He's been transitioning young men to men. It's his responsibility. He should not apologize for wanting to create the best opportunity for his son, and anyone would do it. And I think we put it in the box because of sports. But if I own a company and my son is transitioning, he wants to go into the business world, then I'm going to help navigate what I think are the best decisions, and
Right.
then let him, no different than how we decided which college he was going to go to. He
Yeah.
led that effort, and then we supported him in that effort so that he could be at St. John's. We're blessed that we won't have any school debt.
Yeah.
He could focus, he could build his tribe, and then he could really have a clear path as to what he wants to do. So I think Dion is doing exactly what 99.9% of the parents would do, but just because he's Dion, we want to have opinions and judgment and things of that nature, which is just typical and things that we deal with.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone's got an opinion, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm a father. My daughter's 5. Did you see a difference in raising your daughter and raising your son?
Yeah, absolutely. The major difference was that my son's mother, she and I were married, and he could see both parents each and every day. My daughter did not have the benefits of having both parents, and then having both parents who were aligned in messaging and vision and accountability and parenting. So I think that's the major difference, and I don't think uh, my daughter received the benefits that my son received. Not that there was any intentional uh, purpose or gaps in that parenting style, but when you live with your parents, then you are seen every day, you're touching every day, you can impact every day. And with my daughter, it was she would be there for the weekend, or she would be there for the week, or she would be there for holidays, but she didn't have me each and every day. And I think that was a major factor, and it may have caused some resentment as she was growing up. Like, why is my little brother, why does he have you every day and I don't? And then lifestyles and so forth. And then you just got to help them navigate through that and have honest conversations. And then ultimately, I think when the kids matriculate to adulthood, they can look back to say, hey, my dad was a good dad. He did the best he could, and he was not treating me any differently than my little brother. The circumstances were different. Therefore, it was in a different environment.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, because me personally, like I said, I have a 5-year-old daughter. Her mother and I are not together. And in the beginning, that was very difficult for me to deal with. I grew up with my mom till I was about 7 years old. I moved to live with my dad at 7.5. And it was just me and my dad, rocking out from 7 until went off to college, I always wanted the family unit, always wanted my children to have what I did not have, right? And that was a household with, both parents there. So, fast forward, things happen, right? Lives, and, we're not together. But that was hard for me and still is a little bit, right? Because I feel guilty. I feel guilty that I'm not there, that she doesn't have me every day, right? And I see sometimes behavioral shifts and changes where I can't help but think that if I was present, if I was there each and every day, things would be different, right? Because you have that personality of mom, you have that personality of dad, that discipline, and there's balance there. But when there's no balance, your child goes one way too far or the other way too far.
Yeah, so that's a good point. My son's mom and I, we divorced. He was 10, 11. So for the last 10 years, um, she and I have been very, very intentional about cadence on parenting. And more importantly, I would always let my son know that I still love this mother, and that it was not a competition where he had to pick and choose. So once you lay that foundation, and then it is supported by how the parents interact with each other, how they communicate when they're together, how they communicate with you when they're together. I think that's the best we can do. As you say, life happens, but there has to be a cadence where both parents are on the same note, and we let the kids know that both parents still love each other. It's just that they're going in a separate direction, and be honest, like it happens. But at the end of the day, I think where the kids struggle, they feel they have to choose, and we
Yeah.
set the foundation that Ryan did not have to choose. He had two parents that loved him, that were on the same page, that wanted the best for him, that was going to hold him accountable
Right.
and give him as many resources as we could for him to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. I remember meeting you, and I think Ryan might have been like 10 at the time.
2013, yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
He was
yeah,
about 10 years old playing Pop Warner football, man.
yeah.
And I used to see you out at all the games. You were a very supportive parent, right? And that's also what I received from my father. My father's a professional boxing trainer. Trained Tracy Spann, Lennox Lewis, U.S. national teams. I say that to say he was a very busy man, right? But he always made the time, right?
Yeah, so my son played football, he played basketball, so I was always one of his coaches, never the head coach, but one of the coaches on the team. So I was in the trenches with him. And then growing up, since he could walk, he was with me at all of the events we produced, whether it was major festivals. So he's been
Yeah,
around every artist, every athlete. He's done stuff with me and Ray Lewis. So he's been matriculating through that life
yeah,
to really see that, yeah, my dad works hard. It's not always glamorous, but he's in the trenches with me. And so that was one of the blessings that I was very intentional to make sure that whatever we were doing, locally or nationally, that he was right next to me to witness what his dad did for a living.
was that by choice or necessity? Because in my line of work, I do travel, I do work odd hours, and I feel or see sometimes I have to bring my daughter to these events with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I gotta ask, like, is this a kid friendly event? Like, can I bring my daughter? So she's been around my business, and she's into photography and the cameras and all that, just sheerly of being around it, right? But for me, that wasn't necessarily by design
Mm-hmm.
as much as it was a necessity because I just don't have the support system, so I have to bring her, right?
Yeah, it was 100% intentional for me that You know, his mom, like, there's so many pictures. He's sitting on his mom's lap at Jazzy Summer Nights. He's on stage with me at the African American Heritage Festival. He's on the road at the NAACP National Convention. So it was intentional. But I would have his mom be there as a support mechanism. But he was with me. He's backstage. He's on stage to really get what the nuances are. And then as I'm doing appearances with the athletes, he's right there. He's meeting some of his favorite athletes. But he's seeing the work. He's seeing the travel. And he's seeing the time that if he's going to come with me, he's getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning. We have our due diligence. He's walking through the program. He's understanding how things go. So I wanted to give him just another lens on integrity, hard work, purpose, and then more importantly, doing stuff that you love to do.
Yeah.
And I think, and I'm very proud that as he's gone on to be an amazing young man, that he has instilled some of those things in his choices, and not only college, but the choices he's making in life. Like I tell folks, man, I never wake up worried that my son's going to do something stupid.
Yeah.
And I let him know all the time that I don't normalize or take that for granted.
Yeah.
Because as parents, we are so quick to tell our kids they should be grateful and thankful for the things that we provide for them. But he provides an amazing level of comfort for me that I've never gotten up in the morning and worried if he's going to do something stupid. So, and I just think that's a testament to his mother and myself on how we raised him.
Yeah. That's that's amazing. Like I said, my daughter, she's 5, but she's very aware, very emotionally aware. Mm-hmm. You know, there's times where I'm not feeling it. You know, just call it a bad day or whatever you want to call it. You know, and we'll come in here and I'll cook dinner and I'll just plop on the couch and she sees that. And she'll come over and just pat my head, like, you know.
But Mike, I think that's the perfect time, even if she's 5. And it may not all resonate, but it's to have that honest conversation of how you're feeling, because ultimately, she's going to have to engage with males, and if they're given the proper tools, I think a lot of the challenges, man, is that the relationships that we get in, the male or the female, are reflective of what has been instilled in them.
Right. What
but if she knows that it's okay to be vulnerable, say, look, I'm having a tough day. I just need to pause for a minute, and that it's okay. As she matriculates and becomes a young lady and an adult, she will understand that's a position of strength, not a weakness. And I think a lot of times in these relationships, man, it's a tug of war of whether we can really be 100% vulnerable with our mate, because they really have not had the foundation and or not have the foundation and are dealing with trauma from their upbringing. So I think those are perfect opportunities where you can pour into your daughter on what you're going through, how you're managing it, and then why it's important for your significant other to be there to understand and to support you in those, and then not come back and use it against you.
That's the hard part.
When situations, but that's why the communication is important now as she's growing up.
Yeah. Being vulnerable and then having that possibly used against you. Culture is for men, you know, be strong, suck it up. Honestly, like growing up with my dad, not having a female in the household, right? And my dad is ex-Marine as well. So it's the dynamic of the household was very different than the traditional household, right?
Absolutely.
But that toughness was definitely instilled, but was it the proper toughness or proper way of instilling it, right? Once we get to adulthood, some things we have to unlearn, right? I don't want to speak for all men, but in my experience, we as men have not been taught the proper way of dealing with our emotions. Right?
No, I mean, it's, you know, I'm a big advocate for therapy, man, because I think in working through communication with your significant other and even with the folks that work for you or work with you, it's really setting boundaries and expectations. And it's simple, man. You got to have as many emotional deposits as you do withdrawals. And we as men have to do a better job of articulating what emotional deposits look like for us individually. Because what you may need as an emotional deposit may be different from me.
Right.
And that, and us working hard and wanting to take care of our families, most men just want to have a feeling of appreciation and not normalizing the stuff that we do.
Right.
And then we need to have a clear mechanism to communicate that to our spouses or significant others, that I may make it look easy, but it's not easy. And, we have to constantly let them know, don't normalize what we do. And then we have to do the same thing with our spouses or significant others, that we have to, show appreciation for what they do, what they bring to the table, no different than the story I gave about my son, that most human beings, we just want to feel a level of appreciation and not being taken for granted. And then we can figure out the rest of life when you have someone that you can, whether it's your kids or your spouse or significant other, you can walk through those journeys together with the same mindset.
Yeah. Before we go, you have an interesting mantra that you live by, and I try myself to adhere to that or take heed to that every day as well. And I would love for you to share that with the viewers.
Yeah, I live a life of abundance, and people may think that it's tied to material things, but what I mean by it is that whatever I have today is enough, so I'm not chasing, and I live in gratitude. I have, tattoos that say gratitude, faith, love, and humility. Those are my 4 badges, and, every day I wake up, I try to be of service, and then I have to figure out who I need to ask for help. And I think as black men, we have to know that the vulnerability in asking for help is really a superpower. So when you connect, being of service, seeking help each and every day to help you move through your life and your journey. And then when we walk out and we hit the steps, we really are a product of our expectations, man. And if your expectations is filled that whatever you have today is enough, then you're not chasing, you're not stressing out, you're not letting things dictate your mood and your worth. So that's really a basic fundamental that I give to my team, I give to anyone that I'm talking with, that we really have to do a level set and put things in perspective, man, because on your worst day, on your very, very, very worst day, you're probably better off than 7 out of 10 people you see, man. So we have to put in perspective and know that when we live in gratitude, blessings come, relationships happen, you're not chasing, and you live a life of abundance where you're at peace, man. And we all have our struggles, but we have to really have a foundation of those principles, in my opinion, to really help us navigate through what are going to be natural challenges within our life journey.
Yeah. Listen, that's deep and profound, and I try to live by that every day, I swear. This has been another episode of Black Daddy Country Club. Once again, Laron, thank you for stopping by and chilling with us.
It's my honor, man. I appreciate it, and we'll toast to old fashioned when I see you again.
No doubt.
This has been another episode of Black Daddy Country Club. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe to the channel. This way you will stay updated on new releases, upcoming events, and the latest in merch. And don't forget to share with a friend, blackdaddy.com.